Welcome back to another corCTF 2022 write-up video. In this video, we'll be walking through the forensics challenge, Whack a Frog. Let's get into it. Now, as you can see, I've already kind of solved this challenge, and that's because when I got the solution to the challenge, or solved the challenge, I wasn't quite sure what flag necessarily said. It was a little hard to read, so I wanted to test it out to see if I got it right or not. So that's the only reason it's solved. That being said, I also apologize for not solving more challenges. I was really busy this weekend, so I was only really able to squeeze in this one during the last little bit of this CTF. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and let's go ahead and just start off with the challenge description. Come play a game of Whack a Frog here, and let all your anger out on the silly MS frogs. Due to lawsuits by Murdoch, we were forced to add DRM protection, which has allowed us to detect a player distributing copyrighted media. Thankfully, we took a PCAP. Can you make out what he was sharing? Make sure that anything you find is all typed in uppercase and is wrapped in corCTF text. Best of luck and enjoy whacking some frogs. Okay, so you can download the PCAP file. You'll get it right here. This solve.py script I'll show you later. Let's go ahead and open it up though. And we're going to do statistics, protocol hierarchy, and here we have data and HTTP. Now I'm actually going to apply HTTP as a filter because, as you'll notice, there's these get requests to this anti-cheat URL with x equals 365, y equals 10, and a mouse event. So my first thought when I saw this was, okay, it's plotting something on a graph, essentially, and the mouse events are what are determining where the mouse is moving to the next coordinate. So in theory, we need to connect all these x and y coordinates together with lines. Now, there are three different types of mouse movements or mouse events in this PCAP file, and I'm going to scroll down until I can find another one somewhere in here. Here we go. So there's mouse move, which is the majority of the ones you see. There's mouse down, and then I believe I saw mouse up somewhere nearby as well. There it is. Right here. Okay, so mouse move, mouse up, and mouse down. Now mouse move clearly means moving from one coordinate to the next. Mouse up signifies when the mouse is lifted, or, when it's stopped moving, right? Because we're moving on to the next character. And then mouse down is when we're doing the next character. So we need to account for all that. But first we need to get all this data together. And I actually used T-Shark to do that. So what I did, or ended up doing, was I just expanded this and went to the GET request and the URI, and I filtered by the request URI. So apply as filter selected, and that'll give me the field that I need to kind of extract using T-Shark. Now, I already have the command typed out here, and I'll go over it with you, T-Shark, and then we load the file with TAC-R, our PCAP file. Then we want to do TAC-T fields, and then we want to make sure we're selecting the request query. And then we want to make sure that we're only grabbing ones that are not null, right? Or not empty. And then we're just piping the output to out.txt. So let's go ahead and run that. Okay. So one other thing I had to do for this challenge was I had to take the out.txt and put it into hxd. And you'll notice that there's these null bytes, and we have to filter these out because it's going to mess with my script when I'm trying to solve it, as I'm trying to grab patterns from the strings in here. So we got to get rid of those. So let's go ahead and do a search replace, and it will do hex values 0, 0, replace with nothing, and we want to do all, replace all. All right, and then if you also notice at the top, there was also an extra poopy value, I believe. Yeah, so we can go ahead and get rid of these two values as well. Yes, we want to proceed. All right, now we're going to control S. Now, if you had just opened this up in Notepad or something, you wouldn't even have seen those characters. They would have been invisible. The only way you would have been able to see it is through like a hex editor, or maybe Notepad++ might have shown you the raw data. But there we go. Now it's all nice and clean. So now we can move on to the actual soft script I made. So if I open up in Visual Studio Code, I'm using the matplotlib to kind of graph the points with the lines, and I'm using regex as well to kind of search for the patterns in each string. Let me go ahead and reopen up our out.txt file here. All right, so what I'm doing first is, of course, I'm opening the out.txt file, and then I'm reading each line. or reading all the lines and then looping through them. And then I'm using regex to find groups or sections of each line that I need, right? I want the X value, the Y value, and the mouse event. And you can do that by doing these subgroups, which are in parentheses. And then by proxy, if you just separate out how many variables you want according to how many subgroups you want, you can actually store the value of these subgroups, so this digit, and this string, into variables. So X, Y, and E for event. And of course, you pass in the line and dot groups, make sure it's a regex string. You may not need the R, I don't think it matters that much, but this is kind of the string that does it. Now let me walk you through it. So we have X equals, and then \D stands for digit and one or more digits. And then we do dot star, and I didn't mean to do that. There we go. Dot star, we could have just put and there, but it doesn't matter. Then Y equals \D plus, so that's where we're getting our Y value. Plus means one or more. I don't remember if I said that or not. Dot star, it means any characters in between, 0 more. And then event equals, and then dot star, and then $sign represents the end, right? Because the event, we want to grab everything between the event equals sign and the end of the string because we don't have any other identifier there. We could potentially put the \, in there, but $sign is more regexy, so it just looks a bit cleaner. Then we're going to check for each event. Now, let me start with our else condition. Basically, what I did was I separated out our X's and Y arrays because when you do a plot, you want to plot the X's and then the Y's in a list, okay? It's not going to be like a tuple and then you plot the X and the Y. It's going to be a list of X's and a list of Y's that you're going to plot together. And that's going to be for each one. But remember, since we have multiple characters, so multiple different plots, we need to actually store multiple sets of plots, which is what these plot arrays are for. So this plot array is going to store the X plots, and this array is going to store the Y plots, while this X's array just stores the singular plot of X's for one character, and this Y array stores the singular plot of Y's for a single character, as you'll soon see. So first we check for is mouse down, and then we set up flag equal to 0. I'll explain what that is in a second. And then make sure to empty out the arrays, because when we go back down, or when we go down on a mouse event, that means we know that we're starting over, okay? In fact, you probably could have just put these in mouse up and it would have done the same thing essentially, because it should be the end of the array. But regardless, doesn't matter too much. Then we go ahead and append the X and the Y's. You don't really need these. In fact, let me go ahead and get rid of those, since the starting point doesn't really need a line per se there. Then we're going to check to see if there's an up flag. And what up flag is when we check for mouse up, where the mouse lifts up, so it's the end of a character that it's drawing or whatever it's drawing, right? We set up flag equal to 1. Since we know that's the end of a character, we append that series of X values and the series of Y values to their respective plot arrays. And that'll be one set of X and Y's, which will determine one character. Now this up flag, of course, is going to remain 1 until we see a mouse down event. And you'll notice that there's mouse moves in between each up and down, but that's fine because that's just moving in the white space, okay? So anytime we have up flag, we're just gonna continue even if the event is mouse move. That's why I have the up flag detection right here and the mouse down detection right here. So again, if mouse is up, we append the plots, and then of course, like I said earlier, else we just append normally, right? Because most of these are mouse moves, so they're just gonna be appending the X and Y values normally. Then at the end, this is where we're actually gonna plot all of these. We want to kind of append all the plots to the same chart, so we're gonna loop through it. It doesn't matter whether you use the length of the X plots or the Y plots, it's gonna give you the same result. And we're going to plot each set of plots, essentially, right? Each set of X plots and Y plots. So we're gonna loop through each plot and plot accordingly, according to the index of the plots. So remember, each list of plots is a list of X's or Y's. And then we're just gonna show the chart at the end. All right, so that being said, let's go ahead and run it so you can see what this looks like. Now, I understand it looks a little weird, and that's fine. If you notice, it does kind of make out some letters though. We see X's here, and we see what looks like an I there. So all we need to do is just put it into a, editor. Paint works just fine, and we're just going to flip it vertically. And you'll notice this says LILXDX. So let's just go ahead and put a little box here. Oh, sorry, that's not a D, that's an O. So LILYXOX. Lily XOX. And that will be your flag. So if you're going, the format route, of course, you want to put it like so, I believe. Sorry, this will be lowercase. There we go. All right, so this will be your flag. And that wraps it up for this challenge. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like and subscribe to the channel to show your support. Turn on post notifications to get regular injections of cyber content directly into your feed. Check out our Patreon, join our Discord, and follow us on Twitter. Links in the description box down below. And leave any feedback or questions in the comment section down below. This is Almond Milk. Thanks for watching. Goodbye, world.